Guys, it is season 1 and we are live. This is kGAULT again, bringing you another video on how our Thorns build is doing in the new patch and what is to come. So in this video, we're going to be explaining basically the benefits of this new hotfix that's just been released, making this build even better, as well as what pieces of gear make this build absolutely amazing. Now, we all saw the damage reduction nerf that Blizzard released with this season, dramatically reducing the amount of damage reduction that we get on our pieces of gear. That being said, they've added a few things that have actually buffed us tremendously to where that damage reduction nerf really isn't going to affect us. And I will be explaining why. So our Thorns buff in general, or our Thorns build in general, is buffed from this patch. Now there's a few things that have done this for us. So first of all, they have increased the stats on your weapons, meaning the strength and all stats are going to give us a significant amount more of those stats now than they did before the season. Well, our Thorns build is really dependent on our strength and the amount of strength that we have, right? So with this added benefit to strength on our weapons, once we are at level 100, we are talking over 2,000 strength static that we're going to be having, which is going to amplify not only our damage, but keep in mind that strength is directly correlated to your armor. And with this season, one of those damage reduction nerfs also affected the obedient or disobedience, which is our necklace imprint, right? To give us that increased armor. Instead of being able to get the max of, I believe it was 60% of our armor, we're going to be looking at a 50 or 45%, something like that. I forget exact numbers. But because we're going to have so much more strength now, that's basically offset. We are still going to be hitting that armor cap with those Nightmare 100 dungeons without having the imprint on our neck at that max buff. So pretty huge. Now there's a few other things that happened in this Season 1 patch, mainly to crit damage and vulnerable damage. That really affects a lot of other classes and builds, right? Crit damage is really reliant on the Hoda and Rogues and Necros and Druids, all of it. Even Barb, Hoda, and Whirlwind, you need to stack all that crit damage. Fortunately for us, we are stacking strength in all stats because crit damage doesn't affect our Thorns. Now, vulnerable damage being nerfed on all the items, that's fine for us. Vulnerable damage is still a 2x multiplier, and so those benefits from the gear are pretty minimal. It's still going to be something that we're going to be seeking on our items. But it's really not going to affect our damage output as much as people think. With the added strength, our Thorns damage, our static Thorns damage, our base damage of Thorns is going to be so high that vulnerable damage is still doubling it. So, it doesn't really affect us as much as people think. In this video here, you're seeing I'm clearing the capstone, the level 70 capstone to get to the Torment 4. And I'm only level 60 right now, so all these mobs are 10 levels above me. My gear is 100% not optimized. As a matter of fact, most of my gear is pure garbage. But I have the correct imprints. I have the Bear Clan. I've got the Chieftains to reduce my cooldown. And I do have Marshall set up in my Paragon early off to allow my cooldowns to be coming up. All right. Now, there's one other thing on top of all my damage reduction and all that I'm wearing that's really helping me survive this. And it is huge for this build. Caged Heart of Revenge. This is basically making us one of those super annoying suppressed mobs. You know, you see a suppressed mob with the damage reduction, and they're almost impossible to kill or they take forever. Well, they are now allowing us to do that, which for Thorns and with the damage reduction nerf, this is an entirely new bucket of damage reduction that's going to help us tremendously. No matter what, that is going to be needed for this build with the recent nerfs. So, now that we've talked about that heart, there are some other hearts that are possibly going to work with this build. Mainly the one that is going to allow us to avoid damage about 10 to 15% of the time. That being said, I don't know, because I haven't gotten it to drop yet, on how exactly it works and if it will still proc our Thorns damage. So I will be testing all of the hearts to see which ones will definitely benefit us. But as of this moment, again, I'm only level 60. I'm trying to grind to make videos for you all. And we'll get there when I get there. But I don't want to release any information on hearts until I've tested it myself. And I know for 100% certainty that it will benefit this build. As of now, I'm using that one heart as well as resistance gems or diamonds in my rings. So I have the one caged heart in my neck and the resistances to all in my rings. Basically just testing it, right? Because I have enough armor at this point to give me all this damage reduction. You can see again in the video that I'm able to be fully surrounded and I'm still not dying, just like the build is intended to do. Okay. So a lot of the new pieces of gear, those hearts that I've gotten so far are pretty useless to us, including the crit damage that procs lightning, resource generation, all that stuff. It really doesn't benefit from us. So that's why I put in the damage reduction for the resistances. Just kind of test it out, and there's a lot of fire damage and all that stuff that's going on, which is why I'm using it. But other than that, my build is pretty much identical to my leveling guide. So for everyone that looked at the Season 1 leveling guide for this Thorns build, I'm running it to a T. And I'm able to kill butchers, I'm able to clear nightmare dungeons. As a matter of fact, after I cleared this capstone, I hopped into a Torment 4. I was able to farm Helltides, which were level 75 mobs. And then I was able to complete a Nightmare dungeon on Ancestral as soon as I finished the strongholds to unlock it. So the build is amazing. But not just that. The build is going to get significantly stronger when you get to a higher level. Now, people are saying, the build's not viable or anything like that. That's obviously wrong, as I'm showing you here. And again, in my opinion, the Thorns build is going to be the only S tier class to clear Nightmare dungeons on speed. And that's because of this patch that just got released last night. This blew my mind. Now, Blizzard is stating that they want to come out with something new as a challenge instead of Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons were not supposed to be the leaderboard aspect or what have you. And Nightmare 100 Dungeons weren't even supposed to be able to be done. Which is pretty crazy that the Thorn build was able to do it. But as patch notes, you'll see Nightmare Dungeons have been nerfed into the ground. Look at that health and damage reduction on tier 100. Absolutely bonkers. This build is going to completely melt everything once you get above Torment 70. Absolute crazy. And on top of that, within this next week, I believe, this next patch is probably in about 5 or 6 days, they are going to be increasing mob density. So again, in this video right now, you'll notice that the mobs are nice and spread out. I have to do a lot of grouping to get them up, and I have a lot of 1v1 situations where I'm dealing with a single elite. But that's all about to change, guys. And Thorns just continuously get stronger the more mobs that are around you. So as soon as that patch releases, where the mob density is increased, not only is it going to affect XP per hour for everybody, right? You're going to be able to clear a lot more mobs, gain a lot more XP, got a lot more items, doing all that stuff. But with Thorns, the more mobs that surround us with our AoE effect, the more damage that we do. So we will be absolutely slaughtering everything in these dungeons almost instantly. It's again, I'm not entirely sure what they're doing. I don't understand the reasoning to nerf everything into the ground as far as the nightmare dungeons, other than to make it easy for everybody. But at this point, it will be pretty much a joke for this build. We will not be taking any damage because our damage has been nerfed into the ground. Our damage reduction hasn't been really that affected by these nerfs because we're still going to be able to get to that kind of sweet spot as far as every single bucket for close, bleeding, fortified, all that stuff. We're still going to be over 40% in each bucket. Plus our Frenzy Flay is just going to give us that much more over every other class. And on top of that, we're still going to be armor capped because of the additional strength that we're having. I can't explain why Blizzard did what they did, but it is what it is, I suppose. With the health nerf as well, I mean, again, bosses will be cleared instead of what it took me 5 minutes to clear a Nightmare 100 boss. Will quite literally take under 45 seconds with the new health pool that everything's going to have. It's crazy to me. As a matter of fact, Nightmare Dungeon 100s most likely will be able to be run with a Razor Plate because we won't need as much damage reduction since their damage has also been nerfed into the ground. And we can just maximize our base damage of Thorns, making this incredibly powerful. So, really amazing stuff coming up for our build with the changes to the Nightmare Dungeons. Now, Blizzard is also going to be coming out with new challenging content. Now, I'm really excited to see what that is. Most likely is going to be some type of rift or something similar to the leaderboards of Diablo 3, but I don't want to assume anything. You know, we have to wait until they announce what they're going to be doing, but most likely with that new challenging event will be what leaderboards are based off of. And with all the changes that are coming to Nightmare Dungeons with mob density, I'm pretty sure the mob density is going to be a part of this new challenge event. And there's going to be different difficulties, just like Nightmare Dungeons, to try to excel this build even further. So, overall thoughts on Thorns in Season 1. Once I get my character to 100, which will take me a little bit, guys. I'm not, a full-time YouTuber or anything like that, even though you guys have made me partners, so thank you very much, and I am looking to build this community more and more to see what I'm able to do with it. But once we hit level 100, we are going to be having over 2,000 static strength. We will have over 30,000 static health. That's not including our taunts or potions. Meaning Nightmare Dungeon 90s will literally be speed farmed. And again, I think that Thorns will be the most powerful build once mob density is changed. So, thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and now, because we're YouTube partners, you can also become a member. As you all have helped me, there's going to be 4 different memberships, all with their own perks. And on top of that, I may be coming out with live streaming here in the future. Just continue to show me your love and support, and I'll weigh my options to see what's plausible for me. Leave a comment on what you guys like to see next, and good luck in Season 1, and I look forward to seeing all the comments.